Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive today. And we're going to be looking at something called the father wound,
Okay.
specifically as it relates to the autistic experience.
Right.
It might sound a little intense, I know, but stick with us.
Right.
The goal is to really kind of unpack this whole concept
Yeah.
and understand the potential impact
Yeah.
and not to just dwell on negativity.
Hmm.
Hopefully you'll walk away with some insights into
Right.
family dynamics and emotional needs and
Yeah.
self-acceptance.
For sure.
So ready to dive in?
Absolutely. And I think just to clarify from the outset, the father wound isn't about pointing fingers or assigning blame.
Okay.
It's more about acknowledging the emotional impact
Yeah.
of growing up with a father who might have been emotionally distant or unavailable.
Interesting. So not necessarily about bad dads then,
Right.
but maybe more about a lack of emotional connection?
Exactly.
Okay, and we're looking at this specifically through the lens of autism. So
Yeah.
what makes that perspective unique?
That's a great question. And it's really crucial, I think, to consider the historical context here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for generations, societal expectations
Yeah.
often pushed fathers into these rigid roles.
Right.
The provider, the disciplinarian,
Mm,
with very little room for emotional expression.
yeah.
And that can unfortunately still have an impact today.
So even a father who wants to connect
Exactly.
might struggle because of how he was raised.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a pattern repeating itself.
Precisely. And now you layer on top of that the autistic experience,
Right.
the unique ways autistic individuals process and express emotions.
Okay.
The potential for misunderstanding and disconnect just multiplies.
Okay, now it's starting to click for me how this could really be its own specific thing.
Yeah.
Are there any concrete examples
Sure.
of how this disconnect might manifest in the lives of autistic people?
Think about common situations that many autistic individuals face.
Okay.
A father, perhaps well-meaning but not fully understanding,
Mm.
might push his child towards traditional milestones like
Yeah.
sports or conventional career path,
Right.
despite the very real challenges autism presents.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like a mismatch of expectations and understanding that
fun.
could lead to feeling inadequate.
Yeah, or imagine a scenario where an autistic child expresses affection or seeks connection in a way that's different from what the father expects.
Okay.
This can easily be misinterpreted,
Right.
leaving the child feeling unseen and unheard.
So the child might be reaching out in their own way,
Yeah,
but the signals get crossed,
right.
leading to even more distance. That's got to be tough.
It is.
What about the idea of masking that we often hear about when we talk about autism?
Yeah,
Could that play a role here?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that masking is when an artistic person tries to hide or suppress their autistic traits
Mm-hmm.
to fit in, and it can be incredibly exhausting and lead to a loss of self-identity.
And how might a father maybe unknowingly contribute to this?
Imagine a father, maybe from an older generation, encouraging his autistic child to toughen up or act normal.
Okay.
He might think he's helping his child navigate the world,
Right.
but for an autistic person who already feels different,
Mm-hmm.
this pressure to mask can be incredibly damaging.
So instead of feeling accepted for who they are, they're essentially being told that they need to change a fundamental part of themselves.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like a rejection of their true self.
That's a powerful way to put it. And this feeling of rejection, of not being accepted for who you truly are,
Mm-hmm.
can really lie at the heart of the father wound.
This is heavy stuff, and I imagine some of our listeners might be connecting with this on a personal level.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what steps
Okay.
people can take if they're dealing with, and this is healing even possible?
Yeah.
I mean, where do we even begin?
It's a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
And like any journey, the first step is simply acknowledging where you are, recognizing that the father wound is a real thing, and that you're not alone in experiencing it is huge.
That makes sense. But then what are some concrete steps someone can take to start moving toward healing?
One of the most valuable things you can do is reflect on your relationship with your father.
Okay.
And I don't mean just focusing on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Try to see the whole picture, the good, the bad, the complex.
So gaining a more balanced perspective.
Exactly.
Not trying to erase the hurt, but seeing it within the context of the entire relationship.
Yeah, alongside that self-reflection.
Okay.
Seeking professional support can be crucial.
Mm-hmm.
A therapist who understands both autism and family dynamics
Yeah.
can provide a safe space to process your feelings and develop coping strategies.
That makes a lot of sense. Having that expert guidance can be so helpful when dealing with complex emotional issues.
Absolutely.
What about the idea of reframing the narrative that we often hear about? How does that apply here?
It's about shifting your focus.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on what your father didn't provide, start prioritizing your own needs and building support systems that work for you now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to create the love and acceptance you deserve,
Okay.
regardless of your past.
So taking ownership of your own healing and not waiting for your father to change or acknowledge the past,
Right.
that's a powerful shift in mindset.
It is. And it's important to remember that setting boundaries is a part of that.
Okay.
You don't have to force a relationship that isn't healthy or safe for you.
That's a really important reminder. But what about those who might want to try and communicate with their fathers?
Yeah.
Is that ever a recommended part of the healing process?
It can be,
Okay.
but only if it feels safe and appropriate for you.
Right.
If your father is open to listening and understanding,
Hmm.
having a conversation about your experiences could be helpful.
Okay.
But go into it with realistic expectations.
Yeah.
It might not lead to a magical resolution.
So approach it with an open heart, but also with a healthy dose of self-protection. What about those who might not be ready for that kind of direct communication?
Right.
Are there other ways to work towards healing and self-acceptance?
One powerful technique is to focus on building healthy and supportive relationships in your present life.
Okay.
This could be with friends, romantic partners, chosen family, or even a therapist.
So surrounding yourself with people who celebrate your neurodiversity and appreciate you for who you are.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating that sense of belonging that you might have missed out on. And this can be incredibly empowering, especially if you spent a long time feeling unseen or invalidated.
What are some other ways that someone can cultivate self-compassion and start to heal from that sense of not being fully accepted?
Think about connecting with your inner child.
Okay.
Imagine yourself as that young autistic child who longed for understanding and connection.
Mm-hmm.
What did that child need, and how can you give those things to yourself now?
That's such a powerful image. It reminds us that we all have those younger versions of ourselves inside, carrying those hurts and unmet needs. And
Yeah.
maybe part of healing is learning to parent ourselves, to give ourselves a love and acceptance that we might not have received back then. Are there any specific practices that you recommend for tapping into that inner child and starting to heal those old wounds?
Journaling can be incredibly powerful.
Okay.
Even just a few minutes each day to write down your thoughts and feelings
Mm-hmm.
can be a safe outlet for processing those difficult emotions and starting to understand your experiences from a new perspective.
Journaling is one of my favorite things. It's almost like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as you revisit those journal entries over time, you start to see how far you've come,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the strength and resilience you've developed along the way,
Right.
the tangible reminder of your own progress.
It can be so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day challenges and forget how much we've grown. What about things like spending time in nature, listening to music, or engaging in creative activities?
Yeah.
I imagine those can be really healing too.
Absolutely. It's about rediscovering the activities that bring you joy, that help you feel more connected to your authentic self.
Right.
And for many autistic individuals, engaging in those sensory experiences can be particularly grounding and restorative.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this complex topic.
Yeah.
But I think we've laid a solid foundation for understanding the father wound and its potential impact.
Absolutely.
What's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
The most important takeaway is this: you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Your autism is not a flaw or a burden.
Right.
It's a part of what makes you unique and extraordinary.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't receive the validation or support you needed from your father,
Mm.
it doesn't diminish your worth or your potential to live a fulfilling life.
I love that it's a reminder that healing is possible. And it starts with recognizing our inherent worthiness.
And that healing is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's an ongoing process of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-compassion.
Okay.
It will have its ups and downs, moments of progress and moments of setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient with yourself, celebrate your wins, and never give up on your pursuit of wholeness.
So beautifully said. And to our listeners, if you're feeling triggered or overwhelmed by this conversation,
Yeah,
please know that you're not alone.
absolutely.
There are resources available to support you on your healing journey.
Reach out to a therapist who specializes in autism and family dynamics.
Hmm.
Connect with autistic support groups online or in your local community.
Right.
There's a whole world of understanding and encouragement out there waiting for you.
And asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to confront these deep-seated wounds and begin to heal.
As you move forward, remember to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
You deserve the same love, compassion, and understanding that you would offer to a dear friend.
Okay.
Treat yourself as you would treat someone you love deeply.
What a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And to our listeners, I hope this deep dive has provided some valuable insights and maybe even sparked some new ways of thinking about your own experiences. Remember, healing is a journey, and you don't have to walk it alone until next time. Take care of yourselves.